Do you notice one shoulder sitting higher than the other? Or maybe your child's hips look uneven in photos, or one of your pant legs is always dragging on the ground, or one of your shoes is wearing out faster on one side. And no matter how much you stretch or strengthen or try to improve your postures, things just still look off. Here's what most people don't realize. Those obvious postural clues are being blamed on bad posture or bad habits, when the real issue can be something much simpler, like a leg length discrepancy. It's easy to miss, easy to misunderstand, and when it's ignored, it can quietly affect your entire posture and how your body moves. In this video, I'll show you quick visual cues you can check in under 2 minutes to see if what you're noticing is actually something that's worth being assessed further. I'll also explain who you should speak to about postural concerns, so you're not guessing or chasing the wrong solution. By the end, you'll know whether a leg length difference could be contributing to bad posture and other health issues, and whether it has a completely correctable cause. I'll also show you a real before and after case that demonstrates how dramatically posture can improve once the true source of the problem is addressed.
Hi, I'm Dr. Whitney Wihlidal, a chiropractor in Orillia, Ontario with over 25 years experience and a background in gait analysis, biomechanics, and neurology. My mission is to provide a thorough solution to spinal problems that develop from an unlevel foundation, like anatomical short leg, spinal or pelvic misalignment, poor posture, or foot dysfunction. This channel is for people dealing with chronic pain, like back pain, sciatica, neck pain, poor posture, or headaches, and are looking for real lasting relief. You'll get clear step-by-step strategies to address the root cause of the conditions and start feeling better fast. Subscribe now for real solutions for pain relief, better posture, and a clear understanding of what's causing your symptoms, so you know exactly what to do next. I upload a new video every week. The first thing to understand is why the body is choosing these uneven positions in the first place. The body organizes itself based on stability. If the foundation feels uneven, the body will shift, tilt, and rotate to stay balanced, even if it creates visual asymmetry higher up. That isn't simply poor posture, it's compensation. This is why you'll often see patterns like a shoulder high, a tilted or rotated pelvis, or one knee that stays locked where the other remains slightly bent. These patterns aren't random habits. They're consistent strategy the body uses to feel level when something underneath it isn't. One of the most common drivers of this kind of compensation is an anatomical leg length difference. And it doesn't need to be dramatic. Even a difference of a few millimeters can change how the body stacks itself from the feet up to the pelvis and spine and up into the shoulders and head. When you understand posture as a response instead of as a flaw, it becomes much easier to know what actually deserves attention. Rather than trying to correct posture first, you start from looking at the clues that might suggest the problem may be starting with a short leg and address that first. And that leads us to the next step. A few simple visual cues you can check in under 2 minutes to help you decide whether this pattern might apply to you or your child, or whether it's something you stop worrying about. If you're wondering whether this might apply to you or your child, the good news is you can do a simple posture screening at home. There are a few simple visual cues you can check in under 2 minutes that help you to decide whether what you're noticing is worth being assessed further. Start by looking at the body while standing. Best done from the backside. Notice whether one shoulder or hip is consistently sitting higher than the other, whether the head suddenly tilts to one side, or whether the knee looks straighter or more locked compared to the other. You might also notice frequent weight shifting or clothing that hangs unevenly when someone's standing comfortably. Next, pay attention to how movement looks, especially walking. For shorter steps on one side, a slight limp, maybe walking more on the toes of one foot, or a hip that drops with each step. Scuffling feet on the ground or wearing down the front or outer edge of one shoe faster than the other can also be important clues. Over time, these patterns often show up in other ways. Recurring aches in the lower back, hips, knees, or ankles, especially on one side, can reflect how the body's been compensating for an uneven foundation. These symptoms don't always feel severe, but they tend to be persistent and hard to explain. It's important to understand that these visual clues are not a diagnosis. They're simply a screening tool. Their purpose is to help you decide whether what you're seeing may be part of a larger pattern or simply normal variation. And once you start to see a consistent pattern, the next step is knowing who to talk to and what kind of professional assessment actually makes sense, so you're not guessing or chasing a wrong solution. Not every uneven shoulder or hip was a problem. Small differences are normal.
What matters is whether they're consistent. If the same patterns keep showing up and don't change over time, especially when they're paired with discomfort or fatigue, that's when they're worth paying attention to. The goal isn't to worry about every detail, it's to know when the body may be compensating instead of correcting itself. If the visual cues you're noticing are consistent and starting to affect comfort or movement, the next step is knowing who to talk to and what kind of assessment actually makes sense. Not every provider evaluates posture and movement the same way, and that's where a lot of confusion can happen. You want to look for a chiropractor who is trained and experienced in evaluating anatomical leg length differences. This means someone who regularly sees and treats patients with anatomical short leg, not someone for whom this is an occasional finding. Experience matters because leg length differences affect the entire body, not just one joint or one area of pain. A proper assessment should look at how the body functions as a whole. That includes observing posture while standing, watching how you walk, and assessing how alignment changes when the body is supported or level. In many cases, imaging such as X-rays is also used to confirm whether an anatomical leg length difference is present and to help determine the appropriate correction. When an anatomical short leg is identified, it's typically addressed with a foot lift. The size of that lift is not guessed, it's measured, and this is determined based on the findings from the physical exam and often confirmed through imaging. So the correction matches what the body actually needs. When you're in the right place, the explanation should make sense to you. You should understand what's being found, why it matters, and how it's being addressed. That clarity is often the best sign that you're working with someone who knows how to properly assess and manage leg length differences. To show you what that looks like in real life, I want to walk you through an actual case where the root cause of an anatomical short leg was found. The postural changes we're about to see were not corrected just by stretching and strengthening or posture exercises. They were improved because the underlying leg length difference was identified and properly addressed.
So this is the case of a patient of ours that we take care of for a number of years. When we took these pictures, she was well into her 90s. If she'd been a client of ours for a while. But in this instance, this is a lady who was born, like I said, since she was in her 90s, she was born in the early 1900s, but she had polio as a child. So she'd always had an issue with development in the right leg, right hand side. And she'd always had an unsteady gait. When she was younger, she couldn't keep up with the other kids. She couldn't run as fast. She couldn't move as quickly. She'd always had a problem with her gait being unbalanced, which had generally gotten much more progressive as she got older. When she came to see us, her primary complaints were weakness in the right leg, again, unstable gait, lack of balance or poor balance. And then also what happened was just before she came to see us, about a year before she saw us, she had a fall and fractured her right hip. So she'd fractured through the neck of the hip, which really accentuated and started to progress things even further. So when she came to see us, she had all these previous issues going on, but she had been receiving care. So off and on through her life, she'd been receiving chiropractic care, physiotherapy care, other therapies, again, periodically through life. So when she came to see us, we did the assessment on her. And as you can see in the picture, she's dramatically translated off to the right-hand side. So when we actually did the measurements and stuff on her, and started with the adjustments, we realized we were going to be dealing with a pretty significant lift with her. So we started with some adjustments with her, some postural correction exercises with her, just to try and get some improved movement through the lower spine in her case. And then we started with a lift on her. And as you can see with the pictures, we went from the posture picture initial where she's translated dramatically to the right-hand side to get her back almost to the balance point where her head's lined up with the midline. The great thing this did with her is it dramatically decreased her pain threshold or pain that she was noticing in the right-hand side, dramatically improved her balance, and it changed her gait pattern significantly. So when she was walking, when she would walk before, she would have a very significant tilt to the right-hand side with every step she took, and this just evened that right out. So as you can understand, when she would walk any sort of distance or stand for any period of time, the muscle fatigue that would happen from being so far out of balance, it wouldn't take her very long before she had to sit down or kind of stop her activity.
But with this change now, she could go much further, last much longer. And like I said, all of her friends would notice that just how significantly her gait pattern had improved now that she was standing much more balanced and keeping her body aligned over the midline. So you can see from the pictures the change made in the posture. You can see the lift we had to put on the shoe. In her case, it was 32 millimeters, so over an inch. And with that, again, we had it built on the shoe. Again, heel right to the forefoot and then a slight taper to the toe so it didn't trip her when she walked. And she was a fantastic case, made a dramatic difference in her life. And yeah, so made a serious change and improvement in quality of her life from there on. Posture isn't something you force. When the body looks uneven, it's usually adapting to something else. In the case you just saw, the issue wasn't posture. It was an anatomical short leg that caused a distortion of the patient's posture. Once that foundation was addressed with a properly sized foot lift, posture improved naturally, without having to force anything. That's why knowing what to look for when it matters and who to talk to makes such a big difference. Many postural issues have very clear explanation. In some cases, they're completely correctable once the underlying cause is discovered and addressed. If you found this video helpful, like and share so others who are wondering about their posture can get answers that actually make sense. And make sure to subscribe if you want clear, practical explanations about posture, movement, pain, so you always know what's really going on. And if you have pain, the next video you should watch is this one, where I talk about leg length discrepancy, why it matters specifically in low back pain patients.